Good morning. Good morning. First of all, it is great to be back with CLPHA. I always forget in my mind whether it's CLPHA, which it is, or CLPH something else. First of all, Steve, also thank you so much for the kind introduction, but I think more importantly for your fantastic leadership of CLPHA and the great work that you and the folks out in King County are doing. You all have been trailblazers and really are setting the example when it comes to a lot of what we're talking about today, which is the nexus between housing opportunity and educational opportunity. I also want to just thank our great Acting Deputy Secretary, Cole, for those wonderful remarks and for your leadership for being here today. The Department of Education under former Secretary Duncan and now under Secretary King have just been spectacular when it comes to partnerships and recognizing the value of investing in place, and we really appreciate that. I want to give a shout out to the entire Board of Directors as well and the staff of CLPHA, and give a special thanks to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation Pacific Northwest Initiative and the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation for sponsoring this event. Do they have folks here? Somewhere? All right. Thanks. And I know we have some of our HUD team here. Raise your hand if you hear it. All right. Or like a quarter of the room. We're taking up the room. Thank you all for being here. You know, the motto of CLPHA is strengthening neighborhoods, improving lives. And that's a great motto for an organization that is doing just that. For folks in our country in this year 2016 who need our investment of resources, of attention, of compassion, of effective policy. Thank you for doing it. It's my pleasure to be with you. We come together today at a time of extraordinary change. Change that's altering how all of us live and how we learn, how we communicate and connect, how we work, and how we can prosper. On one hand, we know that this change has made so much possible in our world. Today in the United States, children are able to access a world of knowledge with just a swipe of a screen. Businesses, large and small, can sell their American-made products to consumers all over the globe. Entrepreneurs are able to turn ideas like Snapchat and solar panels into growing businesses that put people to work and that strengthen local, state, and national economies. But as all of y'all in the room know very well, on the other hand, we must recognize that this change has also caused a lot of challenge and sometimes pain in many communities. Many Americans have lost their jobs to a machine. The competition for businesses is no longer just across the street, it's across the globe. And we've seen a lot of middle-income jobs go overseas, and it's gotten harder for folks at the bottom to move up the economic ladder. Too many Americans have not only been left out of the new economy, they've been left behind. It's harder for a child in the United States today to do better than their parents than it is in many similar countries. And this matters more today because of widening income inequality, which has reached levels not seen since the late 1920s. Think of the generations of potential doctors, or teachers, or artists, community leaders that we're losing because the obstacles facing them are too tough. Ours is the greatest nation on earth, one where opportunity should never be a luxury. We have an economic responsibility to knock down those obstacles and sharpen our nation's competitive edge in the 21st century global economy. And more than that, I think you'd agree with me that we have a moral responsibility to ensure that every American, regardless of their background, can make it if they try. Now, all of us here are here today because we believe that affordable housing and strong communities need to be the foundation of this work. When I became secretary in 2014, I called HUD the Department of Opportunity because our work is really about more than just bricks and mortar. If you tell me where a family lives, I'll tell you what jobs are available to them, where their children go to school, the quality of the air they breathe, the odds they face in life. And every day, HUD works with partners like you to ensure that opportunity doesn't stop at the front door. Connecting families with community assets they need to thrive. Our work together is more than just housing. It's about access to transit. It's about economic development. It's about a good environment. It's about giving folks the tools that they need to build a brighter future. We're here this morning because no task is more sacred to that goal than educating our young people. I'm convinced that brain power is the new currency of success in this 21st century global economy, that the best jobs will continue to go to the best educated. Knowledge provides the roadmap that children need to navigate this ever-changing world. And in some cases, an education is a matter of life and death for our young people. We all know of talented, good young folks full of so much potential who dropped out at an early age and fell victim to violence in their communities. So the stakes often are as high as they can be. And we've got to take bold action to ensure that every child, regardless of where they're born, what their last name is, or the color of their skin, can learn and thrive. Now, there are some folks out there who may ask, well, what are these housing people going to do to improve schools? And the answer, as you know, is to partner effectively with the education system, the teachers, the counselors, and others who play a part in giving young people the best possible start in life. Because we know our children's days don't start and end when the school bell rings. They've got to commute home, eat dinner, sleep at night, fill their weekends. And more than 90% of their lives are spent outside of the classroom. And that directly impacts how they do inside the classroom. That presents challenges for the 4 million young people HUD serves. Children of modest means who face significant, often incredible hardship every single day. Today, some of these children are going to go to school without breakfast. Many will learn on an empty stomach. Today, a young girl is going to struggle because her community isn't safe, and the thought of her walk home fills her with anxiety. Today, a young boy is going to struggle because his parents don't have a place to live, and it's tough to do homework without a home. So when we improve entire communities, it means more than just construction projects and ribbon cuttings. It's about helping more young people make the proud walk across a graduation stage to get their diploma and eventually to get their degree. This work demands partnerships among all of the participants in a child's life to ensure that they get the opportunity they deserve. And it's local leaders like you in our nation's public housing authorities and in classrooms and in nonprofits that are on the front lines of this important work. As a former mayor, I know that the most effective progress often starts at the community level. Folks like you see the challenges first, and you often know the best solutions. You know the needs in your area better than anyone in Washington, and you're also
about rolling your sleeves up and getting things done. When I was mayor of San Antonio, one of the first things I did was to launch an effort called SA 2020. As part of SA 2020, we asked, what kind of city do we want to be on Friday, September 25th, 2020, 10 years after we kicked the initiative off? And by far, the number one thing that thousands of San Antonians told us was that they wanted us to improve education. So we got to work and assembled a broad coalition of education, business, labor, and community leaders. We made the case that the best way to build a brainpower city was to invest in early childhood education so that every child could get a strong start in life. And then we made it happen by asking the voters to raise their own sales tax to significantly expand high-quality pre-K. It was an agenda aimed at investing in people, our youngest people, and ensuring that San Antonio would be competitive for the long term. Whether it's early childhood education, or lowering the dropout rate, or ensuring that young girls and boys of color have the same opportunity as everyone else, you also are doing fantastic work across this country. Doing that in places like Vancouver, Washington, in Akron, Ohio, in New Haven, Connecticut. Public housing authorities and school systems are recognizing the impact they can make by working together to help children. So first, more than anything else, I'm here to say thank you for the work that you're already doing, and some of it I've had an opportunity to see on my travels throughout the country. Thank you for acting, thank you for innovating, thank you for leading. And I want to also pledge to you that HUD will continue looking for impactful ways that we can lift up and support your work. I wish that I could tell you that we had more resources for you. Maybe one day we can tell you that. But we all know that as housing needs have gone up, unfortunately, funding in comparison has gone down. In 1981, HUD had roughly 16,500 employees. Today, we have half that. We are in the midst of a rental affordability crisis, and we have more than $25 billion of repair needs among public housing units. In this new budget climate, that means that we've got to work smarter than ever before. And HUD is doing just that with work that's guided by three principles. The first of those principles is expanding partnerships at all levels, at the national, state, and local level, with public, private, and nonprofit sectors. We're proud to be joining everybody at the table and finding new ways to help our children get a 21st century education. One example of this, as was noted earlier, is Connect Home, which gives young people living in public housing the ultimate 21st century tool, the internet. Today, we know that internet access is not a luxury, it's a necessity, something that everyone must have to effectively compete in this 21st century global economy. Yet, at a time when more than 90% of college applications are submitted online, less than half of the poorest households in America have an internet subscription at home. So we brought together businesses, public housing authorities, and others to launch Connect Home, which can now help up to 430,000 school-aged children get online and keep up with their classmates. For them, opportunity now is just a keyboard stroke away. We've also partnered with the Campaign for Grade Level Reading to ensure that more children in public housing are proficient readers by the third grade. The best way to close the achievement gap is to ensure that young people never fall behind in the first place. One final example is a new initiative I'm proud to announce today. It's called the National Partnership on Housing and Education. We're joining the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation Pacific Northwest Initiative. And together we're looking at all of the great work happening out there between housing providers and the education systems that they work in. We're going to identify best practices and urge more communities to take action based on what we find. You in this room are the leaders on this work, and we want to do whatever we can to help others learn from the trails that you are blazing right now. It's our hope that partnerships like these spark progress across the board, and we're eager to work with more of you to build a future where a good education is within reach of every child. The second principle is increasing collaboration among federal agencies. President Obama once said, quote, "If poverty is a disease that infects an entire community in the form of unemployment and violence, failing schools and broken homes, we can't treat those symptoms in isolation. We have to heal the entire community." I know that each and every one of you gets that because of your work. And we know it too, which is why the Obama administration has cut across bureaucratic lines to work together wherever possible, a commitment that's reflected in the Department of Education and HUD's participation here today. An efficient government is an effective government, and we're going to keep breaking down all the bureaucratic barriers that have hindered progress for far too long. The last principle is about measuring results better and sharing that data. At HUD, we help put a roof over one's head. So that's one victory for the folks that we serve. One way, a basic way to measure success. But as we move forward with a holistic approach, we also need to understand more. In addition to outputs, we need to measure outcomes. The work you're doing at the local level is innovating in ways to share data, which is helping all of us to get better as we target our resources and implement best practices. It's helping us answer vital questions like, how much of a difference do our investments make to raise the high school graduation rate among public housing residents? How many working age residents of public housing go on to community college or get technical training that lands them a job or gets them a better one than the one they had before? How much are we reducing the rate of asthma in children so they don't miss time in the classroom because they're in the emergency room or at the doctor's office? We need data to answer these questions, which is why HUD is joining you in measuring more than ever before and in exchanging data with our partners. Doing this allows us to invest in what works. It lets us change what doesn't, and it allows us to improve on our own operations to continue bettering the lives of American families. Today, and as part of this gathering, I know that we're talking a lot about data, about statistics, about knowledge, as we should. I also know that, like you, we keep in mind that this work is fundamentally about people and the impact of what we do on them. It's about giving folks something that's essential to the American dream: opportunity. I recently heard the story of a young man from New Haven, Connecticut. He lived in public housing and struggled in school. He was expelled from 2 high schools, was recruited by a local gang, and was at serious risk of dropping out of another school. And that's when folks like y'all stepped in. The school district got together with the housing authority to identify young people at risk in that community. They put together a team to support this young man at school and at home with tutoring, mentoring, and more. And today, he's graduated from a carpentry program and is now a full-time employee of the New Haven Housing Authority. And this young man is just one example of the power and the impact of your work. You literally changed his future by replacing obstacles with opportunities. And the thing is, and you know this very well, that there are so many more talented young folks out there, just like him, who need our time and attention and help. So, thank you. And I also want to challenge you to continue to work together, to partner up, to share data, and to dream big for what is a generation of talented, bright, aspiring young people out there who deserve the same chance that generations before them had in this undisputed land of opportunity that we call America. All of us can make sure that they are never left behind, but that in fact, they become American success stories because of your work. Thank you very much.